from the News Channel 5 Network. This is OpenLine.
Well, good evening and welcome into OpenLine. I'm Chuck Long, glad to be along with you for the next hour. One of my favorite hours we spend here at News Channel 5 Plus. It is OpenLine and it's Ask an Expert, and the expert tonight, one of your favorites and mine, Kevin Kennedy from the Kennedy Law Firm. We're talking legal questions. So when you have some of those legal questions that you've been thinking about, you've been pondering, get on the line, get free advice with us when you call in this hour. 737-7587 is the number to call. I'm welcoming Kevin once again. Great
how are
to see
you, my friend?
Excellent.
Good to see you, Chuck, as always. It's thrilling. We're now in May, and things are rolling. The sun is shining, the flowers are and the grass is growing.
It certainly is, and you're getting ready to be a grand marshal tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm riding the white horse in the Kiwanis rodeo there in Clarksville, and so that's something once in a lifetime you really get to be the grand marshal. So I'm excited about that event.
That's going to be a lot of fun. So, and you'll be shining at your best too,
yeah,
right?
I've got my silver saddle polished up, sparkling, and so we'll got a little rhinestone jacket. We're going to turn it loose tomorrow to fire up some enthusiasm.
Excellent. I want to see pictures from that when you finish.
We'll get them. We'll get them.
All right. So, Kevin, again, this hour, it helps so many people. You and I have been doing this together for years.
Yes, we have.
And I'm always amazed. People have certain situations and they think, well, I don't know if I want to call because it's really only affecting me.
Yeah.
And yet they call and we realize it affects so many people, so many different ways of reaching people just with these questions.
Well, while you and I were on the break, we were talking about anxiety. Let me tell you about legal problems. It will give you anxiety through the roof. Not only your legal problem, but if you got a family member that's going, or a coworker, boy, listen, y'all take some notes and call in. Feel free. There's no such thing as a dumb question, because I will help ease your anxiety. I really feel good about that. I love to help people. Chuck loves to help. So if you've got those questions and say, well, maybe I'll ask. And a lot of times you know the answer, but you'd like to hear me reassure you that you're correct. And if I can give you another food for thought, a little option out here to consider, then let's do it. I've had several situations that came up even with me personally. As you know, I owned several businesses. At one time, I owned 11 different businesses. Wow, what'd you learn? You can't run on all those, but you can't work an hour a day. You can't work one day a week. It's too much. But with that, I did get a lot of experience to show what kind of insurance we need and how to evaluate, and not run my mouth to insurance adjusters. And if they're not doing us right, and let me tell you, I'm on the front line with insurance companies every day. No doubt. And we want to be honest. We want to be fair. That's all anybody wants. Just treat us fair. But they are not treating you fair. So I'm telling you right now, on TV, open, anybody can hear me, they will not treat us fairly. So you're going to have to use your best judgment, and possibly you're going to have to hire a lawyer. What do? I use lawyers myself all the time. And you say, well, why don't you just advance your own? They said in the law school, a lawyer who represents himself has a fool for a client, and that client has a fool for a lawyer. So one person can run interference, and we can get it done, and you will be so much happier.
Absolutely. So if you are thinking that you have one of those situations where you want to make that call and say, you know, whether it's for estate planning, whether you're having problems maybe with a neighbor, you're having problems with the insurance company, a hospital stay, so many things, a lot of times that you'll find in families. You know, families, of course, you want to get together, you want to be able to get along in your family, but a lot of times there's just questions, and things like a death in the family can certainly change the makeup of a family. Obviously.
We had a family in there, and we were trying to do something because we knew that we had an illness that was terminal. And when we got finished, I said, I'm so happy today that we were able to get this done. You will rest better. And I'll never forget, it was a lady's party where she said, you've made me feel so much better, Kevin. I feel better even before I sign these things. And she knew it. I knew it, or other family members, they all knew it. And so I don't want my children to fuss and fight. You don't want your children, and you don't want to fight with a brother or a sister, do you?
Right.
So the real world is, let's just get it done correctly, and we'll take all that anxiety over the whole family, and we can enjoy one another later in life rather than disconnect and be and you know how long it lasts? For generations.
Absolutely. All right, if you have one of those questions or comments, just give us a call, 737-7587. Let's go to the lines right now. Paula is on the line with us. Paula, good evening. We're glad that you're watching Open Line. Do you have a question or comment for Kevin?
Yes, Mr. Kennedy, you don't have the documents, so you might want to hedge on this. But
all right, we will.
Let me give you what I live in a condominium, and the rules are pretty clear to the extent that the association is responsible for everything outside the walls. You're responsible for everything inside your walls.
Yes.
Where this has come into play is I live above a unit, and the toilet in my bathroom, the seal beneath it broke and caused some water damage to the condominium below.
Okay.
I've had an over $300 plumbing bill just to fix my situation, and the insurance companies could go at it, I guess, and determine liability. But my question is, being that it was not negligence on my part, it wasn't something that I could anticipate, and from what I've been told, this will happen to everyone simply because everybody who has a toilet has it sealed or whatever, and then wear and tear, it's going to break. So what, if you could hedge a guess as to how this would pan out? We both have insurance. It's required by the HOA. So. Well,
the real world is you're doing really good to evaluate. Why do we evaluate? Identify the issues. You've also done an excellent job on your assessment. Was I negligent? You know, I didn't know that there was any problem. And then a good argument could be made, well, they knew when they bought a condo that is underneath, they could have assumed the risk that someday one of those pipes break and it comes down. So again, you're looking after your interests. You can talk to a lawyer privately. And this is a good one when you have your insurance company and you say, hey, I've got a policy, here's my policy. I'm so sorry this happened, but feel free to contact them. And then that's why you have insurance. And believe me, we already know when they go to that insurance company, they're not going to want to pay, Chuck.
Right.
Do we know that?
Absolutely.
And what about the people that own the apartment got flooded? They've got insurance. You should keep your insurance. So they don't want to pay. Do you know that, Chuck?
I do.
Well, then they might just let the two insurance companies fight it out. I'll tell you a new trend, but you did excellent, and thank you for your question. I never really want to ever assume any liability. But there's a new policy that we were talking with insurance companies today, and they say, well, this is one company, and I know y'all are talking among each other. Well, what does that really mean? What that means is they're talking amongst each other against the client. And so, wow. And of course, they said, well, we don't do anything that everybody's not doing. Okay. And remember this. Every time that you're talking to your agent, this is going to be recorded. Not for training, but it's going to be caught to use against you. So think very carefully on what you say, and I'm reluctant to ever admit, well, I knew this, and then the next thing you know, you're getting a lawsuit.
Right, and you know, Kevin and Paula, by the way, thanks for the question. We're glad that you called in.
Absolutely.
If you do have a question or comment, of course, that number on your screen, 737-7587, any legal question that you have. But Kevin, you know, I live in a condo, and we, you know, recently, a couple of years ago, floods came through, and they actually washed the retainer wall out between our complex and the neighbor next door to us. And the insurance said, you know, we were like, well, surely insurance is going to cover that. Insurance comes in and says, nope, we're not covering that. So once again, you find these things that you need to go talk to the lawyer, because that was the first thing that we did.
And many times a lawyer could jump the gun, write a letter on your behalf, lay out what his position is. You didn't have to make any kind of statement. You didn't have to answer any kind of question. So I love the lawyer run interference. Look at it like the football game. The greatest touchdowns ever were, we had a great running back, but somebody was blocking for him so he could get the touchdown. Then everybody wins. Use your best judgment. That's why they're there. If you haven't used one, you've miscalculated.
Now, Kevin, another thing I know people often have questions about, it's kind of the big guy versus the little guy. Whether you're fighting the insurance company, whether you're fighting the hospital. I mean, so many people, and I know that they can relate to this, but you know, you go to the doctor, you go to the hospital for a situation, and then you suddenly just keep getting bill after bill after bill that you think insurance is going to cover. But you're thinking, I'm just a little guy. I can't fight the hospital. I can't fight the insurance company. So what do you advise them on that situation?
If we get to a substantial financial bill, you know I'm going to a lawyer, and let them fire that letter off. And you know, here's the argument. I had it happen to me. Kevin Kennedy, it happened to you? Sure, it happens to everybody. You know, we go to the hospital, you say, okay, it's the emergency room, sign these forms. What about all these forms? If you don't sign them, they're not going to see you, so you got to sign them. Then they say, oh, 2 or 3 months later, that's not covered. I had the best insurance anyway. And they said, that's out of network. And so my secretary, we do it all the time. She's great. She said, well, Kevin, you can appeal it, but it's not going to do any good. I said, bring the letter, dictate the letter, bring the letter, and we got it worked out. So, but I even my own people sometimes say, Kev, now you can try that, but it's not going to work. I said, we shall see.
Yeah, that's
Every day's a new day. Now, remember, you'll hear Kevin Kennedy say, he who fights and gets away, he'll live to fight another day. So most of the time, the letters do tremendous work, because if you're looking at it, even these adjusters, they are protecting their jobs because they know they're being taped. I've got guide wires, guidelines, I've got to stay in. So if I'll stay in here, I can't lose my job. I recognize everything, learn the rules, learn them better than anybody, play the game, you'll come out a winner.
Absolutely, words to live by. All right, we are going to take a short break right now, but if you have one of those questions or comments, get on the line with us, 737-7587. We'll be back with more Open Line right after this.